proclaim liberty throughout the land. That's actually familiar to people who read the Bible. It ought to be familiar to people, though, who are familiar with the American Revolution, because that was also one of the slogans that was very much on the heart of the founders of the United States. They were people who understood liberty in a certain way, probably not far from their minds. Every time they thought of the word was that wonderful piece of advice: stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made you free. I bet the farmers that fired the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord, somewhere in the back of their minds, as they stood waiting for the redcoats, as they stood firm under the volleys of the enemy. They were remembering that admonition to stand fast in their liberty. But that meant that they had an understanding of liberty that was in accord with the mind, the heart of Christ, and the intention and purpose of God. Well, guess what's coming up? What's coming up is the first ever IMTV Liberty Fest. We will be celebrating on April the 27th, 2019. Not only will we be celebrating the launch of this network, we'll be celebrating the understanding of our human condition that is really also on our minds and at the heart of much that we do as we are looking at the world, looking at issues in the United States and elsewhere. That admonition to stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ and God hath made us free. To do what unhappily our old Mother Eve did not do. To do what down through the centuries many, many folks have been unwilling to do. And what today, even in the United States of America, after all those generations of people who, when the Liberty Bell was struck, it rang true. But in our day, the Liberty Bell rings false with an understanding of freedom that contradicts the will of God, that contradicts the understanding of God, that rejects the sacrifice of Christ and is unwilling to walk his way of truth to life. Well, we're going to be celebrating the true understanding, looking at issues of the day from the point of view of that true understanding, never losing hope in God's mercy, and therefore never losing the hope that we too will attain again the heights of an understanding in our hearts and in our actions that returns liberty to the United States in the true sense, the liberty that is a responsible reaction to God's great gift of life, not seeking to quell and destroy it, but rather to fill it with the blessings, not the curses, that follow on his great word of creation. Well, that's what's going to be starting here on April the 27th. We're going to be celebrating it. What do you think of our prospects of gathering a bunch of folks to come together and celebrate that first spirit of liberty?
Well, I think it's an exciting opportunity for people to come out. We've got guests coming down from Washington, some of your friends. We have a guest coming in from Oklahoma who's leading the abortion battle in the United States to stop abortion. And so I think it's going to be an exciting day. We're going to have a dinner, and we're going to have a guest singer that Art's going to tell us about here in a minute. So it should be a wonderful day of worship and celebration and seeking to rightly understand the meaning of liberty and how we can use that in this day and age.
Well, we're going to begin the day with an effort to gather folks and treat them at first to a feast of speeches at a conference in which people are going to be coming who have a wide variety of interests and expertise and affairs that we will be covering, obviously, in the course of our activities at IMTV. I have a good friend, Frank Gaffney, whom I've known for many years, Center for Security Policy founder, and now I think he is the chairman of that organization overall. He's going to be coming to talk to us about international affairs. We'll be looking at aspects of the Trump foreign policy, looking at the challenges that face the United States now in the world, challenges that, in a way, and he's one of the people who really understands this, reflects our own internal sense of battle about certain aspects, not only of our foreign policy, but of ourselves. And so he's going to be sharing thoughts about that. Tom Hofling is coming. Tom is one of those folks to whom I apply in my own mind, without equivocation, the word patriot. He's somebody who has a heart for the United States, a heart for its history, but also a heart for the right understanding of its goal and destiny, which is not just to fill people of a country up with people who are looking out for themselves and taking care of the almighty dollar, but rather looking out for God's will and taking care that we fulfill what was there in the minds of our founders from the beginning. The destiny, the better destiny of humankind that is possible when we accept the offer of Christ, walk in the way of Christ and God, in order to form a society that can become an example of right and hope and decency to people around the world. We're going to have with us Publius Hulda. That is her pen name, as she is well known throughout the internet as one of those people who champions the Constitution of the United States, and champions it in a way that is close to my own heart, because she pays attention to the words, to the meaning, but also to the root, to the fact that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, the ideas of God-endowed right that were at the heart of the Revolution, and are also right there, all sewn into the fabric of the Constitution itself. She will be talking about some of the key challenges to the integrity of our Constitution in our time. Now, one of the issues that has been most on our minds for years now, partly at least because it's one of those issues that threatens to bankrupt our government, but also because it's an issue that affects the life of each and every individual in our country, is health care. And we're going to have Dave Racer, not a fan of Obamacare, but someone who is very knowledgeable about some of the challenges that our hospitals and doctors and healthcare system overall is facing. But again, as you can always expect here at IMTV, he's also going to be talking about that not just from the perspective of administrative this and that, but from the truer perspective of how all of that crisis relates to the crisis of moral understanding and responsibility, particularly in terms of the integrity of family and family life. So I'm looking forward to his conference session to provide the kind of insight on an issue like health care that understands that that word health must also refer to the spiritual health of this country, the institutional health in terms of those institutions endowed by God, which are the bedrock and have been the bedrock of our strength, but which are now being neglected. And finally, we're going to have folks here like Stacy Campfield. You all know Stacy if you have been following a little bit our start-up activities here at IMTV. He's going to be coming on to share that rare sense that he has of being able to relate the realities of our time to the reality that is God's truth for our purpose in this land and in this world. So he's going to be among those who will be joining others to present to the folks who gather at Liberty Fest things that are going to feed the spirit, feed the understanding, feed the knowledge, so that you can go back out into the world with a little foretaste of what we hope will be our constant fare here at IMTV. And then we're going to end the day not only with a feast of speeches, folks who are, like I'll be standing forth to say a few words, but we're also going to hear a celebration of that true sense of liberty in the spirit of American patriotism, but also in the spirit of a worshipful appreciation for God's role in producing, at the end of the day, America's opportunity for greatness, which we are tempted to let slip from our grasp, but if we remember him, we will take good hold of it again. What's that going to be like?
That's going to be that evening. It's going to be an evening concert with Michael English.
Hey.
Michael English is a Grammy Award winner and a Dove Award winning recording artist. He has a great story. I'm sure he'll share a lot of his story. A lot of folks might have heard of Michael English. He was with the Gaither Vocal Band, so he's a big part of the Gaither videos that lots of folks might have watched. Arguably, I think you could say Michael English is one of the best, if not the best, vocal talents, definitely of our generation, if not ever. So it'll be exciting to hear him sing and share his story with us that evening.
Well, I think it's going to be a great way to close out what I expect to be a fine and wonderful time in a spirit that will lift hearts and remind people we have something to celebrate in our liberty. We have challenges, and we are, I think, in the midst of a great crisis. But IMTV is coming on the scene, not just to belabor the crisis,
Amen.
but to make sure that people remember the hope. And you cannot remember the hope if you forget what's in the name. And what's in the name IMTV? A constant reminder of the truth, that whatever issues we face, we can face them, deal with them, walk through whatever challenges they may involve, with our hearts full of hope, as America's heart has been generation after generation. We will find it once again, because we mean to seek and find again the role of God in all our lives.